This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to do a quick look review of the Samsung Galaxy S5 in this sea of devices that includes the HTC One, the iPhone 5S, the Xperia Z1S. It's this guy right here. Now we're going to have a full, long review of this too, but this is for you people who say, you know, I like the Reader's Digest condensed version, or you just can't wait for our full review, because we've had this for a few days and I feel like it takes a little bit longer than that to do the really detailed reviews we do. But in the meantime, I can give you the overall gist of the new features, what I think of them, and let's look at it now. So the Samsung Galaxy S5, the latest Samsung flagship, shall we say, normal size phone. The Note 3 would be a different category of phablet sort of phones, bigger ones. This is just a hair bigger than the Samsung Galaxy S4 that it surpasses, shall we say. And that's because the screen's a little bit larger. It's 5.1 inches instead of 5 inches. A small difference there. And the bezels are actually a little bit bigger on the sides. Now, some people complained about that. And granted, I don't have small hands. One of you once said I could choke a squirrel with these hands. Okay, they're not really that big, folks. I am still a woman. But anyway, I found with a lot of these phones that have really no bezel, I was constantly touching the screen and activating things. So give me, see, just demonstrated right there. So just give me that little bit of space so I have a little bit of wraparound room without making things happen that I didn't intend to happen. Taking a look at the back of the device, new finish from Samsung. No, it's not metal. I tell you, I'll drop dead the day they actually make a metal phone. But it's got that sort of, they're doing that faux leather thing again like they've done with their tablets, but it's a different finish. This is like a stippled finish. It's supposed to look like stippled leather. It's available in your choice of black or white. The black is more like a gray, and that's obviously the one that we have here. The jazzy, really neon blue that you saw in the copper, not on the market yet. Now be careful if you buy an aftermarket back for this to replace it because you want some zingy color. This is a water resistant phone, so there's a rubber gasket inside, and we'll show you in the full review. So you want to make sure that you actually get one that will maintain the water resistance, unless you're absolutely sure you will never have an accident. So speaking of water resistant, dust resistant, nice. They're kind of bringing in something from Sony Ericsson with the Xperia line being water resistant, and from Apple we now have a fingerprint scanner up front. The home button functions as a fingerprint scanner. Works differently from the iPhone. You don't just press your finger and rest it on there. You have to swipe it. This is really the same kind of scanner used in some PC laptops. Lenovo ThinkPads tend to have fingerprint scanners, for example, and way back in the days of the Motorola Atrix. Does it work? Yes. Is it really designed to be used with two hands? One holds the phone, the other swipes the finger. Yeah, it's not the one-handed easy solution of the iPhone. The display is still Super AMOLED, still full HD, and for those of you who like Samsung displays and their super duper saturated colors and the deep rich blacks, you've got it here. It also is brighter. A complaint that many of us had about Samsung Super AMOLED displays is they are not that bright, so now you can get up to 500 nits of brightness. It is actually viewable outdoors. Not ideal, but no smartphone really is, even the iPhone 5S, but it certainly is usable. Inside we have a Snapdragon 801 CPU. That's that minor revision we also saw in the HTC One M8, which happens to be sitting right over here, in case you want to see them side by side. We'll have a comparison smackdown of these two. 2 gigs of DDR3 RAM, again like the HTC One M8. Good on benchmarks, slightly higher than the Snapdragon 800 that we've seen in some recent flagship Android phones. So not a huge speed difference there, but improvement is really for gaming using faster RAM. Design's pretty much unchanged from the Galaxy S4 in terms of where the controls are. We have our volume rocker on this side. We have our power button on this side. Most people like the power button on the side on bigger phones so you can actually do this instead of having to reach to the top. There's no kind of knock-on feature on this phone, so you actually will use button to turn it on. Notice the bottom. We have a door here because it is a waterproof seal. And this is a USB 3.0 port, micro style, and it does come with a USB 3.0 micro style cable in the box. We'll talk more about that in our detailed review, but every time you plug in that cable, it's going to ask you, do you want to use 3.0? And it's going to keep it on just for 4 minutes or so, and then it's going to turn it off, in part to avoid interfering with wireless radios. Another neat thing about Samsung phones, yes, the back is still removable. A little pry point right on the side over here. And it will remind you to make sure that door is on tight for waterproof reasons. See the gasket right here? That's the rubber gasket that should keep water out, so you can drop that in the bathtub by accident and not cry. 2600 milliamp battery in here. The battery capacity has been upgraded. Expect good battery life from this so far. That's what we've been seeing. There's your LED flash. By the way, the flash doubles as a heart rate monitor. You rest your finger on there and it will report your heart rate. And so far it's actually been pretty accurate. I know some folks said they saw pretty wacky results. It's been pretty accurate and consistent. 16 megapixel camera there. That's a lot of megapixels. And Samsung makes some nice standalone cameras. This really does take very compelling shots. It's their new ISOCELL camera. It can shoot 4K video as well. You've got a stack of the micro SIM on the bottom and micro SD card slot on the top, so you will have to take the back off. You do not have to remove the battery to take out the micro SD card. You do have to take out the battery to remove the SIM card. The phone has, as you'd expect, 4G LTE along with 3G. It's available on all major carriers in the US. I mean Sprint, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile. Right now we're looking at the T-Mobile one. This is the only one that actually has the download booster feature enabled, and that means you can combine your Wi-Fi and your 4G to have even faster downloads. Now, I know some of you love this feature, and it depends how fast your Wi-Fi connection is. If you're at Starbucks where it's pretty lame, it can be exciting. If you're at home and you have a fast connection or work, not so much. It's up to you if you want to use your data bucket too for that feature. Right when you set up the phone, it's going to ask if you want to use that feature. If some nice phone salesman sets up the phone for you, you can always go in and check the setting later for yourself to find out if it's enabled or not. Speaking of settings, Samsung is just getting kind of schizophrenic here. We have TouchWiz. Of course, it's going to be TouchWiz. It's a Samsung phone. You know, I'm not a huge fan of TouchWiz and the kind of Hello Kitty look and the way it can slow down the phone. Honestly, the phone's pretty fast. It hasn't. But the UI is kind of a mishmash. Some apps still have that kind of TouchWizzy look. Then you have the Google apps, which of course have the nice, clean Google look. And then you have, for example, something like this. This is the new settings display. Why can't they just let us have the Google settings? Straightforward list of things. This looks like their Tizen interface here with the circular icons. So each of these takes you to various settings. Speaking of settings, everything you know, love, or maybe even ignore about Samsung phones are here. The feature where you can have it, keep an eye on you using the front camera and not turn off the screen if you're looking at it is here. The multitasking, multi-window stuff, all of that's on board too. In addition, you get the fingerprint scanner, you get the heart rate monitor. Samsung was just trying to find some new stuff to throw in here to, well, set the phone apart a little bit from their own Galaxy S4. In addition to that impressive 16 megapixel rear camera that really is taking some nice photos and videos for us, you get a 2 megapixel camera up front. That's not more megapixels than we're used to seeing on a higher end smartphone, but it does do full HD, and I can tell you the video and the photos look better than the previous generation. That's really nice. Everybody likes to video chat these days or do selfies, and it even has a beauty mode for the front camera, so you don't have to worry about, well, not looking your best. Inside we have the usual army of wireless radios. You have your GPS, you have NFC, dual band Wi-Fi, AC, Bluetooth 4.0 as well. Everything you'd expect to see on a flagship phone is here, and it all works as advertised so far. In fact, I'm quite impressed with the phone so far. I wasn't a huge fan of the Galaxy S4, but this just feels so good in hand. For example, I've been using the Xperia Z1 and Z1S for a while, and this just fits in the hand so much better while having even a slightly larger screen size. It's quick, the screen is very pretty, camera is amazing. So far, so good. So that's our quick look review of the Samsung Galaxy S5. Again, available now on all major US carriers. Should be available overseas too. And certainly the HTC One M8 has competition, so does the iPhone 5S. You folks with the Galaxy S4, I don't know. Watch our detailed review. We'll cover some of the differences a little bit more there. If you have an S3, you definitely want to upgrade to this one if you're still liking your Samsung experience. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to visit our website for the full review, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.